I have to click on it. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. My name is Jersey Ann Krupp, and I am a Master's of Financial Engineering student here at Lehigh, and I will be graduating in May of 2023. Our project is designing a Lehigh interface using Web 3.0, and we are only on the business side of the project, so we will mostly be discussing the business aspect and only touch on the development team. I would like to ask if everyone could please hold any questions to the very end of our presentation. So I know some people are very familiar with Web 3.0, while other people in the audience might not be as familiar. So I will now pass it off to Cooper, who will give you a brief introduction to what Web 3.0 is.
Thank you, Jersey. Hello, everybody. I am Cooper Nelson. I am in the class of 2025, and I'm majoring in ISC and finance. The internet is a fascinating place. It connects people together from all over the world, and there seems to be a limitless amount of possibilities that you can do. The thing about it is that it's constantly changing. The internet, as we know it today, is not what it was like back when it was first invented, nor will it be the same in the future. Experts have broken down the internet into three main phases: Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. Now, our team plans to incorporate Web 3, but before I can explain that, I must go back to the very beginning and explain Web 1. Web 1 was known as the read-only internet. The only thing that users could do was read the website. There was no logging in, there was no messaging friends, there was no hyperlinks. And because of this, you can think of it as a one-way street. There would be a minuscule amount of creators of these websites, and the vast majority of people would only be able to read it. Web 1 started in 1991 and lasted till about 2004. Now I'm going to pass it over to Darren, who's going to talk about Web 2.
Thank you, Cooper. Hi, everyone. My name is Darren Chen. I'm class of 2024, and I'm a finance major. So like Cooper said, I'm going to talk about Web 2. So we like to call Web 2 as the read and write internet. It started about the end of the Web 1 era, so 2004, and it's what we use now today. So unlike Web 1, where we were only consumers and readers, and only a small percent of people could actually post information, Web 2 is the complete opposite, and actually the majority of people could post information now, such as through social media apps such as Facebook or YouTube. We can make videos, we can make posts. And because of this, Web 2 is not a one-way street like Web 1. As you can see in the picture, everyone, as long as they have a connection to the internet through a social media app, could post and consume information. Now I'm going to pass it on to Yuen to talk about Web 2's disadvantages.
Thank you, Darren. And I'm Yuen Wu, class of 2023, and majoring in accounting. So as a fast developing Web 2 structured internet, there are obviously many disadvantages and things need to be fixed. There are two major aspects of it. And the first of all is centralization. So in Web 2 internet, when we post something, no matter it's on the internet or in any social media apps, it basically means that what we post up there, our personal information, it is owned by the company or the host. It basically means that we ourselves didn't own our post, but instead of that, it leads to censorship and big data. The company will have the final say on what is being presented and open to the public, which will directly be insult to our right of speech and many other personal rights. And I'll pass to Eve for another perspective of disadvantage.
Hi, my name is Ifu Lu. I'm class of 2025, and you can call me Eve. And I'll be talking about another disadvantage of the Web 2, which is data collecting. And what we say is it lacks of privacy, because when you are browsing on the internet, when you type in any keyword, the company, like the owner of the website will collect almost everything you type and what you are scrolling down, and they will make a list of you, and they will provide personal advertisement like you saw on the internet, and you will be attracted of it. And next we have Darren to introduce. Sorry. Also, what is our solution? And our solution is Web 3.0. And I'll have Darren to introduce the next.
Thank you, Yves. So I'm going to be talking about Web 3.0 also. So Web 3.0, we like to call it the read, write, and own internet. And it's new. So from present until who knows how long. And I'm going to go into three major aspects of Web3, but right now I'm just going to say in Web3, we own our own data and it's decentralized. So because of this, I'm going to talk about the three major attributes of it being private, decentralized, and democratic. So privacy. In Web3, we own our own data and companies can no longer sell our data to other companies that do targeted advertising. And this is because in Web3, Web3 is decentralized, which means that we no longer have to go through a centralized big company like Facebook, Google, or YouTube that collects our information. And as you can see in the pictures, it's just every user interacting with every other user through their own content. And an example I came up with to simplify decentralization is this cookie example, which is imagine the cookie jar as these big corporations, centralized corporations such as Facebook or YouTube and Google. And these cookies are our posts and our data. So although we own our own cookies and posts and data, they're in the possession of these big companies in the jar. Whereas in Web3, we own our own cookies, so our posts, but they are also in our possession, like on the plate that person is holding. Next, I'm going to pass it on to Jamie to talk about the democratic aspect of Web3.
Hi, my name is James Kakuza. You can call me Jamie. I studied analytical finance, and now I'm going to tell you about why Web3 is democratic. And Web3 is democratic because of the very infrastructure, the very technology that makes Web3 different from Web2 and Web1. Web2 and Web1 were very centralized, obviously, and by virtue of being central, they were controlled by one party or one organization. Any user of a website did not have much say in the goings-on of that website. But now, because of the way that Web3, the very technology is designed, every single user has a right, has a way of managing, of having a say in what is added to this Web3 website, if you will. We will get into the technical stuff, but as a preview, I will say that most users will have the ability to sign off to validate the next block in the chain, hence blockchain, if you know what that is. And this leads us to the next slide, please. Now that we talked about everything that makes Web3 great, we are going to try our best to bring that to Lehigh, and specifically to Lehigh alumni. Now, we just spent an entire presentation talking to you about what Web3 is. Imagine what that'll be like talking to an alumni who barely knows how to use an iPhone or Facebook. But our goal is, and this will be the goal of Group 2 and Group 3 first and foremost, is to make it streamlined and simple. Right now, if you want to communicate with Lehigh with any specific club or go to a specific event for that club, you probably have to go on to maybe 2 or 3 websites, make a few phone calls, or even go on Instagram and follow these things. But Web3 will allow us to do all of these things in one place. We will get more into the details of that at the end of the presentation, but for now, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Sam to tell you more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Hi, I'm Sam Yarmark. I am a class of 2024, and I am an economics major. So our programs overall purpose is to foster alumni students relations. So there are an abundance of networking opportunities that are already established, such as Handshake or LinkedIn or Lehigh Connects. Thus, our website veers away from these elements and creates more of an active line of communication between alumni and students. So we deemed it necessary to reach out to alumni to gauge their interest in a community-based website. So our purpose for retrieving this data through a survey is to collect alumni's past and current participation in their most valuable organizations. And so here we can gain insight with the help of Group 2 and Group 3 to help promote these relationships and hopefully facilitate club growth in the future. Our distribution channels consist of the Alumni Relations Department as a whole, as they've suggested that they send out the survey on our behalf. And also Alan Frank, a Lehigh alum and Web3 sponsor who's on the call right now, mentioned in one of our sponsor meetings that he would be happy to distribute our survey as well, which would be extremely helpful. So we will utilize these two modes to spread our survey to the vastest sample size possible and to receive the most applicable data regarding our project's future. Now I will turn it over to Alejandro to discuss the targeted Lehigh clubs and organizations.
Good afternoon. My name is Alejandro Zayas. I am class of 2024. I am studying finance. So in search of finding clubs and organizations to become our early adopters of the platform, we have compromised a list with the most active clubs with the largest alumni. So this would allow us to identify our target users, those clubs who are heavily involved and have a larger alumni base. Student Senate, the Brown and White, Greek chapters such as fraternities, sororities, and cultural groups, and varsity intramural sports. All these clubs reflect our target users as they would be able to collaborate with hundreds of alumni from years prior and be able to bond over traditions and newcomings that new and previous members deeply care about. They would also be able to reach out about future events or previous club policies for guidance. As we make progress with our platform, we reach out to these clubs and pitch them our concept. We will update them throughout the course of development in efforts to have a fluid implementation once we are ready for launch. I'll now pass it over to Miki, who will break down the survey that will be sent out to Lehigh alumni.
Thank you, Alejandro. My name is Miki Sakai. I'm an ISC major and I'm class of 2025. So this is a survey that we created, which will be sent out to several alumni, and it's going to help us get a general idea of alumni involvement with clubs during their years at Lehigh and whether or not they would be interested in being a part of this interface that would connect them to their past organizations. So the first few things is just like basic information, name, graduation year, whether or not they were a Lehigh alum. And then next, it leads to ask about their most involved club or organization during their time at Lehigh. So we gave them a scale of how to rank how involved they were, how involved they currently are. We asked them their current method of communication, what they like about it, what they would like to change about it, and if they would like to be more involved, and if this interface is something that they would like to be a part of. And then so the next question is basically asking if they have any other clubs or organizations that they would like to mention. So if they say yes, then that will lead them back to the same questions as before, so that they can provide us some more information. But if they say no, that will lead back to the last few questions, which is just asking about any updates that they would like from us, if they would like a recording of this meeting, and any additional notes they have. So I'm going to turn it back to Jersey to talk about the development team.
Thank you, Mickey. As I mentioned earlier, we are the business team and we do have a development team, and they are broken up into two categories. One is focused on the blockchain, Web 3.0 and smart contract elements, and the other team is focused on the web design and user interface. I will now turn it to Jamie on Zoom to wrap it all up.
Thank you, Jersey. So as alumni, we all love Lehigh and we all want to give back. However, not all of us can give back. Not all of us are financially capable of giving back, and not all of us want to just give people money and hope for the best. You want to have a real physical impact on your what you felt closest to at Lehigh. Additionally, you want your part when you were here to be remembered, to have a legacy. And with Web3, we are still in development with this product. However, we will be trying our best to make this a true Web3 product. And with that Web3 product, we are going to be able to deliver through a smart contract, which again, we can discuss later if you'd like, through what's called a smart contract, virtual ownership or trusteeship of a Lehigh club or organization. How would you like to, at Lehigh, if you want to your legacy to be remembered, you can buy a bench, you can buy a tree and have it put out on the quad. But here, if you want to be remembered as a member of the rugby club or a member of this a cappella group or a member of the accounting club, you will have an eternal, immutable, digital label that ties you to your club and that organization in what we will call a trustee, because that will preserve you there forever. And your name will always be there as someone who took part in this and as someone who cares enough to give back to this club. In addition, once you become a trustee and your name gets up there, you will also, through the smart contract, be given access to upcoming events, schedules, and other attributes, especially if you're a Greek life, magazines and merchandise and other things that would usually take other emails to sign up for, other phone calls to make, all will be signed up for immediately. What Group 3 will be working on in particular is app design and making all of this complicated stuff. How can you own something digitally? All of that will be explained, but most importantly, it will be easy to understand. Right now, LinkedIn and Handshake are very formal. They're very square, as it were. Whenever I write an email on LinkedIn or Handshake, it always has to start with Dear Mr. or Mrs. Blank, sincerely, James Kakuza, student at Lehigh University, major, blah, 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 blah. And that's very formal. But I know that when I participate with my clubs, and I know that when I participate or I interact with alumni in my club, they don't want to talk to me like I'm applying for a job. They want to talk to me like they're still in the club, because I am the product of what they helped build. And this app will not only be delivering all of the products which I just said, it will also be delivering that closeness that Handshake and LinkedIn cannot provide, that colloquialness, that friendship. So that's what we plan to do. Thank you. Back to you, Jersey.
Here. And we will now open it up for questions.